Tomorrow you do have a test on Chapter 10. There will not be any word problems. There will not be any proofs. It's all of the application of the theorems. You're not going to have to restate a theorem. You're not going to have to give me a definition. You're just going to have to put them in action. You're going to apply them. Yes? Factoring? No factoring. All right. Next week, we are going to review factoring. So anybody who's going on Antioch, or if you're not going to be here, we are going to cover factoring on Monday and Tuesday, and you will have a quiz on Wednesday before we leave for the break. And then when we come back from spring break, we will start Chapter 11. Okay, so from Chapter 1, you need to be able to identify all of this vocabulary. So what a chord is, what a radius is, what a secant, a tangent, and then apply the theorems. So the study guide here has a nice little vocabulary box. Use this. If I give you a figure like this, be able to identify these vocabulary words. And then the second page here, I'm not going to give you anything about coordinate plane. There is no graphing on it. I was going to have you graph a circle. However, we did cut it back. The test I originally created was a bit long, so no graphing on the test. Nothing about common tangents. That was all on the quiz. So that was lesson 1. So just basically understand all the different parts. Because if you don't know what a tangent line is or a secant line, then once we get into those formulas later on in the chapter, you're not going to know which formula to use or how to identify what's a tangent, what's a secant. Then from lesson 2, this is where we saw arc measures and angle measures. So you will have to understand how to do this. Know that when you have a semicircle, it's got 180 degrees. Just know how to find different angle measures. You may have to add and subtract based on the angles that are in there. Know what to do when it's a central angle, that the arc measure is the same. So here you're going to find missing arc measures, and you'll do quite a few of those, finding arc measures. So all of these examples, they're perfectly good to use. This would be perfect. Same thing here. I'm not going to ask you to identify whether it's a minor arc, a major arc, or a semicircle arc. We did that on the quiz. But you will have to find the measure of the arc. The second page, let's see what else is on here. Focus on this, just finding missing angle or missing arc measures. You're not going to have to tell me if the circles are congruent or if the arcs are congruent. Just again, find missing arc measures. Then from lesson 3, we saw in this lesson, apply properties of chords. You will use this fact that, if you have two congruent chords, then their corresponding arc measures are congruent. This will come in handy when you're trying to find the arc measures. So again, know how to use the chords when they're congruent. It also makes the arc measures congruent. Skip over. All right, 4. Was that? Did I? Let me find. And in lesson 4 went in here. Okay, here's lesson 4. I got out of order. I put 5 in twice. So if you happen to watch the video, 5 study guides in here twice. Here are all the theorems for the inscribed angle. Remember, when you have an inscribed angle, that's an angle that's sitting on the side or the edge of the circle. And its measure of that inscribed angle will be half of its arc measure. You will use this. You will also use the fact that if the same angle shares, or two different angles share the same arc, know that those angles will be congruent. Know also when you have a quadrilateral inscribed in a circle that opposite angles are supplements. Okay, don't get confused with properties of parallelograms. So when we have a quadrilateral inscribed in a circle, opposite angles are supplements. So then 10.5, this is where we saw the measure of angles inside and outside. So these were going to be angles, usually made with your tangent lines, your secants, and there's several formulas. Also know when you have a tangent and a circle that the angle created with the radius or the diameter and the tangent is going to be half of the arc measure. So know all of these theorems in 10.5 and how to apply them. You will have quite a few questions from 10.5. Okay, you will have chords, you will have secants, you will have a secant and a tangent. Know all of these formulas. Okay, there were 3 of them. And know how to use them. Be able to apply them. Then from 10.6, this is the circles. Again, I'm not going to make you graph. Oh, no, I'm sorry, that's 10.7. I'm jumping ahead. Here again is the different, these are the 3 theorems. Sorry, I'm getting my lessons confused. So 10.6, this is where you saw those 3 theorems. So when you had the segments of the chord, when you had the segments of the secant theorem, and the segments of secants and tangents. So know all of these and how to apply them. Then in 10.7, that's the circles. You will not have to graph it. You will have to write equations. So the exercise is down here. Perfect example. I am going to give you the center point, and I will give you the value of the radius. So you're going to just plug it into the standard form. Remember, when the center is at 0, 0, this is the formula. When the center is not 0, 0, you use this one. Yes?
And we're going to be using radius, so we would
Yep.
have to find distance?
Correct. No distance questions. You will not need to use the distance formula. I will already give you the radius calculated. So the circle questions are pretty straightforward. Remember, again, you will see circles in Algebra 2. Again, I recommend you go back, do the homework, review the questions. The practice A's are on Canvas with the answers. I know we did practice A and B for lessons 1 through 3. However, for 4 through 7, we only did the practice B's for homework. So if you need additional practice, the practice A's are in the module with the answers. And then now as an additional review, we're going to do that study guide I posted. We'll go over those answers. And again, it's all applications. Know the theorems, know the definitions, and how to apply them. No distance formula, no proofs, no word problems. You cannot use a calculator. So no calculators tomorrow. I've made all the problems where they're easily calculated without a calculator. Okay, so the numbers are reasonable. Okay, nothing out of the ordinary. So no calculators tomorrow. We've shortened up the test, so you should have no problem as far as time goes, even though you're not using a calculator. Any questions? Yes?
Would we need to put our answers in simplest radical or something?
I don't think so, but if you encounter any radicals, yes, you will leave it in simplest radical form. No decimals.